Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man who makes sure that he drinks 8 glasses of water a day once they've been brewed properly.
That's right.
It's Dale.
Got to do a little hops and stuff in there.
Yeah, you got to turn it into beer.
Yeah. Just open the can and give it to me.
Yeah. Can or pop a top.
Pop a top, pop a top. What's going on, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Doing an episode.
Doing a thing, man. Doing a thing.
And I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying these new boom mics.
Yes. Boom mics.
Boom mics.
Boom mic stands?
Boom mics. They are nice.
They are nice.
Yeah. Very professional.
I got my pinky up over here and everything. We're all stuff. SpongeBob would be proud.
You holding your pinky up when you drink your beer?
Yeah, up high.
Yeah.
Lord, so what's we got going on today?
We got a episode today we're going to do.
Okay.
But
that's why I'm here.
Before we get into that, I need to apologize to all of our YouTube listeners.
Speaking of, we have over 1,000 subscribers now. Appreciate that.
That is just awesome, dude.
No doubt.
Yep. But let me apologize to our YouTube listeners. The Brian Dugan episode, serial killer Brian Dugan, something happened in the process of rendering that video, and it got cut short somehow or another. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I will replace that file and get it straightened out. Yeah, that would be episode 115, serial killer Brian Dugan.
Yes.
But I will get that taken care of. I appreciate some listeners pointing that out to us.
Heck yeah. We really appreciate that. Anytime anything's going a little screwy, please let us know. We'll get it fixed up for you quick as we can.
Yeah, technology's great, I'm telling you.
I'm telling you.
It sucks sometimes.
Yeah, we got over 92,000 views on there.
Man.
92,000.
Just on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's killer.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So y'all 1,000 folks is busy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Actually, it's over 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody who listens anyway in every way.
But Dale, this week we've got a pretty interesting episode. Something me and you've been throwing back and forth that we've been wanting to cover for a while.
Right.
And this is a true crime story, but with a
little twist.
Yeah, little twist. It's a little old story, and I think a lot of people will recognize this when we get into it.
Yeah, you guys don't know nothing about no Fred Kirby, though.
No, not Fred Kirby. Fred Kirby and Uncle Jim.
Uncle Jim. That's
a local thing here in North Carolina. It was
right.
Back in our younger days.
Back in our days, we'd come home and flip it on, and Fred Kirby would be whooping out some Our Gang.
Yeah, Our Gang and the Little Rascals.
The Little Rascals.
Yeah.
We love the Little Rascals.
Yep. But that's
I ain't going to sing the whole song.
No, but that's just a local thing here. But this has to do with the Little Rascals and Our Gang.
That's right.
Yep. But we're talking about Carl
Dean
Switzer.
Switzer.
Yeah. Who's better known as Alfalfa.
That's right.
But he didn't get his name Alfalfa till a little bit later.
A little bit later.
But we're going to get into Carl Dean Switzer.
He got it while he was table dancing, I think. There. So.
Yeah. But Carl Dean Switzer was born in Paris, Illinois.
Paris. Yeah.
It's not Paris, France, but Paris, Illinois.
Right.
And he was the youngest of 4 kids that was born to Gladys Carey Shanks and George Frederick Switzer. I think he went by Fred.
Yeah, Fred for short.
Yeah.
Frederick was too fancy.
Yep. But like I said, he was the youngest of 4 kids, and the oldest brother had died in 1922. They had a sister named Janice, who was born in 1923, and a brother, Harold, who was born in 1925.
Yeah. And, Carl was born in 27. So,
okay.
Yeah. Just to put that out there.
Yep. He was actually born on August 8th, 1927.
Look at you being all fancy.
Yeah. But Alfalfa got his name, Carl Dean, after a member of the Switzer family and many relatives on his grandmother's side. And he and his brother Harold, they kind of became famous in their hometown for their musical abilities and performances they did.
It was famous in Paris, wasn't it?
Yeah. They would sing songs and could play a lot of instruments, what had been told.
It's pretty cool.
Yep. Now, we're moving just a little bit ahead to 1934.
34.
Yep. And this is when the Switzers, the Switzer family, they took a trip to California. And I think out there they were going to visit some family. And
did somebody say California is the place you ought to be?
Yeah, California. But while they were sightseeing, they went to Hal Roach Studios. This is where Our Gang was being filmed.
That's right.
And following a public tour, 8-year-old Harold and 6-year-old Carl, they entered the Hal Roach Studios, which was open to the public.
Yeah,
it was
the cafeteria.
Yeah, it was like an Our Gang cafe, I think.
Yeah. And then, they'd go in there and even people, performers and all kinds of stuff would actually be in there, which would be pretty cool.
Yep. And they began a kind of an impromptu performance.
I think he hopped up on the table, went to singing and dancing. Didn't he?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And producer Hal Roach
Just happened to be in there, wasn't he?
yeah, and was quite impressed, Dale.
It says impromptu, but I believe Mama was probably had a little more. Get your ass on that table and start singing.
This is our big shot right here.
Chance right here.
Yeah. But Hal Roach was in there, and he was impressed with them.
Yeah, he was.
And he signed both of the boys to appear on Our Gang.
He nicknamed Harold Deadpan, which I don't really remember him a lot. He maybe had a smaller part, and then he dubbed Carl Alfalfa.
So that's where Carl got his name, Alfalfa.
Right there on the table.
Yep, singing and dancing.
Singing and dancing.
And the brother, a lot of people probably didn't know that Alfalfa had a brother that played on there.
Right.
But he had smaller roles, and I think he was just sort of in the background a lot. Yep. But the brothers first appeared in 1935, Our Gang short called Beginner's Luck. And by the end of the year, Alfalfa was one of the main characters on Our Gang.
He kind of took it over, man.
Yeah. While Harold, he'd sort of been, like we said, put in the background. I guess just extra kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which might have been a little bit better for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the long run.
Yeah, in the long run, yeah. But Alfalfa, he was an experienced singer and musician, and was often called upon to sing off key.
Yeah, which they said was really hard for him because he was such a good singer. To screw up on purpose was not easy.
Yeah. But he would often sing Bing Crosby and just have a good time with that.
Yep.
Now, by the end of 1937...
I wonder who come up with the idea to have the big cowlick.
I don't know. I never heard that anywhere. Or read that anywhere.
Yeah, me neither. I was kind of wondering about that. I'm sure it's not natural.
No, it's not natural.
Even maybe had a small one or something, and then they just really emphasized it or something.
Could have.
I couldn't find out anything about that. Anyway,
he said that was his personality, boy. His personality. But
ain't that right?
Now, by the end of 1937, Alfalfa had surpassed the series' normal star, which was Spanky. Who was played by George McFarlane.
Right.
And he surpassed him in popularity.
Which is shocking to me.
But the boys, they got along well. But get this, their dads didn't.
Right. Ain't that something?
Yep. Now, the fathers of Alfalfa and Spanky, they argued constantly over their boys' screen time and salaries.
Crazy.
Yeah. Because Alfalfa was the breadwinner of his family.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. He was the only one working in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess Harold was getting paid too, but probably not as much as Alfalfa.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, the boys were making all the money, and the parents were just hanging out at the studio.
Yeah, bitching at each other.
Yeah. And they said that they wouldn't have the parents on
set?
No, they wouldn't have them on set because...
well, it'd be just like a mom on the baseball field or something.
Kind of.
Out there screaming and stuff.
They only got the parents when the kids would act up or something or get out of control and said, go get the parents.
Right.
But yeah, they just kept them off to the side. Alfalfa's best friend on the show, believe it or not, was Tommy Bond, who played Butch.
Yeah.
Now, on the show, they were like enemies.
Yeah, rivals.
But they were actually best friends in real life.
Yeah, Butch was the tough guy.
Yeah. And he and Alfalfa became good friends because it was quoted as saying that neither of us could replace the other since we played opposites.
Right.
And Alfalfa was known for being abrasive and difficult on the set. And he would sometimes play cruel jokes on other actors and hold up the filming with his little crazy antics.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff he did. They said it would piss off a lot of people. Like, they had those real hot light bulbs around from the stage and around stuff, and he would pee on them. And then when they turn on the lights and it get hot, just be stench.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he peed in them or if he cup and poured or however he did it. But anyway, the pee got on the light and the light got hot and the room stank.
Knowing Alfalfa, he probably just peed on him.
Yeah, probably.
And so there was one time that he put some fish hooks in Spanky's pants pocket, back pants pockets, and it cut him and he had to get stitches.
Yeah. Yeah, and then even Darla was really afraid of him.
Yeah.
Even though they were romantic on screen, she was really kind of afraid of him, and said that at one time one of the cameramen had went to Carl and told him that when you turn 21, how about come back down here and see me? And he goes, well, why would I do that? He goes, that when you get 21, I can beat the shit out of you. Because a lot of them antics, like one time when he peed on the lights, he did it a lot, and they busted and stuff, so they had to shut down filming for a while. And anytime they shut down, nobody was getting paid then. So
yeah,
he was acting up, and nobody's, the crew and the production people weren't getting paid, so they were getting tired of this stuff.
Yeah, he was causing everything to be shut down.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Now,
but I guess if you're the big bringing in the money, mom and dad ain't going to bust that butt or nothing.
No.
Or yell at you or anything else if you're bringing the money in. So he probably got away with a lot of stuff he shouldn't have.
I'm sure he did. Now, Alfalfa's time on our gang ended in 1940 when he was 12 years old. And his first role after leaving the series was as a Boy Scout in I Love You Again. And it was in 1940, starring William Powell and Myrna Loy. And he then starred in the 1941 comedy Regular Fellers. And the next year he had a supporting role in Mrs. Wiggs of the Cabbage Patch. And Alfalfa continued to appear in a lot of various films and supporting roles, including Johnny Doughboy, which was in 1942, Going My Way in 1944. I think I seen that movie, but I don't remember him being in it.
Right.
The Great Mike, which was 1944. And Alfalfa had an unaccredited role as Augie in the 1943 film The Human Comedy.
I think he had several unaccredited roles, and really it was probably hard for him to get a really good role because, like most child stars, you kind of get
Cast
typed or, locked into that, you're Alfalfa, you're no longer Carl, so it's kind of hard. Be kind of like Gary Coleman, trying to get a different role after doing different strokes all those years.
Now, he did reprise his Alfalfa character, complete with comically sour voices, in the PRC's Gas House Kids. It was a comedy series in 1946 and 47. And by this time, Alfalfa was downplaying his earlier Our Gang work in his resume. And he would just put down that he was just in MGM's shorts.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, he sort of played it off.
Yeah. He's probably getting tired of being Alfalfa.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Right.
But we're going to call him Alfalfa through the rest of the story.
Yeah, it's easier for us.
Yeah, because he's Alfalfa.
Yeah.
Now, Alfalfa did have some small parts in both the 1946 Christmas film It's a Wonderful Life, and he was actually Donna Reed's date at the high school dance.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
I've seen it.
Probably the only one that's never seen it.
And in 1948 film On Our Merry Way as the mayor's son. And in 1952 he played a busboy in the film Pat and Mike, starring Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn.
So it's some big productions, but just very small parts.
Big names he's acting with, but no leading roles at all.
Right.
And he was also in the 1954 musical film White Christmas. And his photo was used to depict freckle-faced Haynes. And
right, so was he in it, or it was just his photo?
It was just his photo.
Right.
Yeah. It was freckle-faced Haynes, the dog-faced boy, which was an army buddy of lead characters Wallace and Davis, played by Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye.
Yeah, right. So still got big names, but
Yeah, he wasn't getting the parts, man.
Right.
So in the 1950s, Alfalfa turned to television, and between 1952 and 1955, he made 6 appearances on the Roy Rogers Show.
Roy Rogers.
Now, Roy Rogers is going to come into play a little bit later. And he also guest starred in an episode of American science fiction anthology series Science Fiction Theater and the George Burns and Gracie Allen Show. And in 1953 and 54, Alfalfa starred in 3 William A. Wellman directed films, Island in the Sky and The High and the Mighty, starring John Wayne
and Robert Mitchum.
Yeah. So that's more big names he's with.
He's hanging out with some good people, but he just ain't getting the big parts.
Yep. And Alfalfa's final film role was in 1958 drama The Defiant Ones.
Right. And that was he was also in Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
He played a Hebrew slave is another small part.
Mm-hmm.
But Cecil B. DeMille, that name will pop up later as well.
Yeah. Now, besides acting, Alfalfa got into breeding and training hunting dogs and guided hunting expeditions.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah, expeditions. And
she must have been pretty damn good at it.
Yeah. Now, among his notable clients were Roy Rogers and Dale Evans.
Mm-hmm.
And they were actually his son's godparents.
Right. Which will be coming later on.
Yep. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of Alfalfa's.
Also, Jimmy Stewart and Henry Fonda was also clients.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, just a little bit of Alfalfa's personal life. In early 1954, he went on a blind date with a woman named Diantha Collinwood.
Diantha. I like
Yes.
that name. It's cool.
But she was also known as Diane or Diana.
Yeah.
But her real name was Diantha. And she was the daughter of Leo and Faye Collinwood and the heiress of a grain elevator empire, Collinwood Grain. So he was...
That sounds fancy on a grain elevator empire.
Yeah, getting into some money.
Yeah.
Now, Collinwood had moved with her mother and sister to California in 1953 because her sister wanted to become an actress. And Alfalfa and Diana Collinwood got along well and married in Las Vegas 3 months later. And in 1956, with his money running out and Diane pregnant, his mother-in-law offered them a farm near Pretty Prairie, Kansas.
Pretty Prairie.
Yep. And they had a son. His name was Justin Lance Collinwood Switzer. And he was born...
With them 4 name boys.
Yeah, 4 names. And he was born that year they were married. And they divorced in 1957. And Diane married a man named Richard Roswell Elridge.
Right.
But I think everybody called him Ross.
Ross, yeah.
And me and you talked about this, but I couldn't find anything on it. But it said that Ross had adopted and raised Lance. This was Alfalfa and Diane's son as his own.
Right.
So Alfalfa, he must have signed over parental rights to him somewhere along the way.
And, he wasn't very old.
Mm-mm.
I mean, he wasn't even a year old, was he?
That's probably about right.
Yeah.
And Diane and Ross, they had 2 other children, Chris and Lee Elridge.
Right.
Now, I'm just going to go a little bit ahead right here, and then we're going to go back to where we were. But It was stated in 1987. This was a quote from Our Gang co-star Spanky, who was played by George McFarlane. He recalled a meeting with Alfalfa when they spoke about the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And Spanky was quoted as saying the last time he saw Alfalfa was in 1957, and it was pretty tough for me and him. I was starting a tour of theme parks and county fairs in the Midwest. Alfalfa married this girl whose father owned a pretty good-sized farm near Wichita. When I came through town, he heard about it and called. He told me he was helping to run the farm, but he finally had to put on a radio and tractor while he was there plowing. Knowing Alfalfa, I knew that wasn't going to last. He may have come from Paris, Illinois, but he wasn't a farmer. That's what Spanky was saying.
Right.
They hadn't seen each other since they left the Little Rascals.
Right.
So they had lunch. We talked about the things you'd expect, and I never saw him again. He looked pretty much the same, according to Spanky. He was just Alfalfa, kind of cocky, a little antsy, and I thought to myself he hadn't changed that much. He still talked big. He just grew up. So really, according to Spanky, he was just...
The same kid, just taller.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you think about this, dude. I mean, they go from top of the world, both of these kids, and then all of a sudden you're out of work, you're working on a farm. Spanky's doing tour of the county fairs and theme parks, just making appearances and stuff. So it's a pretty big fall if you think about it from where they were.
Well, I'm sure Spanky was typecast a little bit too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
all of them probably.
Yeah, but at least he was making money. He was working and
still doing that,
profiting off of it because they didn't get paid any residuals at all when they were doing this Little Rascals Our Gang stuff.
No.
So now getting back to where we were in January of 1958. Alfalfa was getting into his car in front of a bar in Studio City, Hollywood, when a bullet smashed through the window and struck him in the upper arm.
Crazy.
The gunman was never caught. And later that December, Alfalfa was arrested in Sequoia National Forest for cutting down 15 pine trees he intended to sell illegally as Christmas trees. Yeah, Christmas trees. And he was sentenced to 1 year's probation. And he was also ordered to pay a $225 fine, which is about $2,100 today. So that's a pretty steep little fine for sequoia trees.
Well, he shouldn't have been cutting down them trees.
No, basically it wasn't his.
The Sequoia National Forest.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Alfalfa, he was getting into some legal and financial problems, Dale.
Yep.
And he went back to what he knew. He started to train hunting dogs. And he was training a treeing walker coonhound for a guy named Moses Samuel Stiltz, who went by Bud. Now, Bud, he was a longtime friend and sometimes business partner who Alfalfa had met while working with Roy Rogers on various productions at the Corriganville Movie Ranch. And while in Alfalfa's possession, the dog ran off.
Yeah, trying to chase a bear, I believe.
Yeah. And Bud Stiltz was pretty unsympathetic about this. He didn't care.
Right.
Towards Alfalfa.
He said you either bring me my dog or bring me some money to equivalent to the value of the dog.
Yeah.
I don't care what happened.
But Alfalfa was unable to produce any cash to settle the debt. And he took out ads in newspapers and put up flyers and doing everything he could, offering rewards for the safe return of the dog. But eventually the dog was located and brought to the bar where Alfalfa was working at the time.
So now he's working as a bartender as well.
Yes. And the rescuer, whoever found the dog, was rewarded with $35 in cash.
Big time.
And a bar tab of $15. So he had a credit of $15 at the bar.
If you think about it, it's about $450 total.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more today.
Yeah, it's pretty good for finding a dog.
Yeah.
But Alfalfa had lost $50, and it didn't sit too well for him.
Right.
And during this emotional conversation with his 37-year-old friend, Jack Pyatt, that took place a few days later, the two decided that Stiltz should reimburse Alfalfa for the finder's fee.
Yeah, I'm sure they were sitting around having a few drinks and decided that I got shit.
Yeah. Now, their argument was that the dog was Bud Stiltz and not Alfalfa's. And the two soon arrived at Bud Stilt's home in Mission Hills.
Yeah, they decided they're going to go get their money back right now.
Yep. And the address was 10400 Columbus Avenue, if anybody wants to
check it out.
Google map it and check it out. Now, Bud Stiltz shared the home with his wife, Rita Corrigan, and his stepchildren. And Alfalfa and Pyatt, they intended to get the money from Bud Stiltz somehow. And there's different accounts of this event. And
several.
And I'll agree that Bud Stiltz was struck over the left side of his head with a glass clock.
Yeah, one of those glass domed clocks.
Yeah. And he later retreated to his room and retrieved a .38 caliber revolver, which Alfalfa, they said, wrestled him for it. And them getting into a struggle caused the gun to fire and almost shoot Tom Corrigan, who was Bud Stiltz's 14-year-old stepson.
Right. Now, another version of that is they came in violently wanting their money back, and Alfalfa had a hunting knife. And that's when he went and got the gun.
That's one account of it,
right.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of different weird things going on here.
Yeah, but Bud Stiltz's account of the event was one of self-defense. And he's testifying that Alfalfa had banged on his front door, yelling, "Let me in or I'll kick the door in."
Right.
And the threat was followed by a struggle that began with one of the men, either Alfalfa or Pyatt, striking Bud Stiltz with the clock, like we said. This prompted Bud Stiltz to go get his firearm, which Alfalfa grabbed for, and the gun discharged accidentally. And Alfalfa then, according to Bud Stiltz, threatened him with a knife.
Right. Now, one of the versions was they were wrestling for the gun and it went off and shot into the ceiling, but some of it splintered off into fragments and hit the kid.
I'd heard that too.
So I don't know what happened really.
Yeah.
Okay.
But according to Bud Stiltz, he was getting threatened with a knife and yelled, "I'm going to kill you." And Bud Stiltz fired and shot Alfalfa in the groin, damaging an artery and caused massive internal bleeding. And Alfalfa was dead when he arrived at the hospital.
Damn.
Yeah. Now, Tom Corrigan, he was a 14-year-old. His account differed significantly from his stepfather's. Now, he told investigators that Bud Stiltz shot Alfalfa as he and Pyatt were leaving after the gun accidentally discharged that almost hit 14-year-old Tom Corrigan.
Mm-hmm.
And Alfalfa, according to Corrigan, had a moment of clarity about the situation. He turned to Pyatt and said they needed to leave. The two were headed for the door when Bud Stiltz then fired the fatal shot. Alfalfa never drew a knife, as Bud Stiltz claimed he had.
Right.
But Tom Corrigan was never called to testify at the coroner's inquest.
You know, and even in the real story or whatever, when they came in and found Alfalfa, and the guy was saying that he pulled a knife on him, and when he got the gun and blah, blah, and shot him, they picked him up and found out it was actually just like a pen knife, I believe.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even open.
Yeah.
And when crime scene investigators came in, it was actually under his body.
Yeah.
So this dude was lying the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This Bud Stiltz, yeah.
Yeah.
But now the shooting was judged to be self-defense. And during the inquest regarding Alfalfa's death, it was revealed it was reported as a hunting knife was in fact, like Dale said, a pen knife.
Right.
And it had been found by the crime scene investigators under his body.
Unopened.
Unopened, yeah. Now, over 42 years later, on January the 25th of 2001, Tom Corrigan, the 14-year-old at the time of the killing of Alfalfa, came forward. He was a grown man at this time. Tom Corrigan, he was the son of Western movie star Ray Crash Corrigan and stepson of Bud Stiltz. He was the 14-year-old, like we said, who was present the night Alfalfa was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that it was more like a murder. Tom Corrigan told reporters he had heard a knock at the front door, and Alfalfa said, "Western Union for Bud Stiltz."
So there he's contradicting the other guy saying that they was beating on the door, said they want their money now and all this craziness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And Corrigan's mother, Rita Corrigan, opened the door to find a drunk Alfalfa complaining about an old debt and demanding repayment. Now, Alfalfa entered the house first, followed by Jack Pyatt. And Alfalfa said he was going to beat up Bud Stiltz. And Stiltz confronted Alfalfa with a .38 caliber revolver in his hand. And Tom Corrigan said that Alfalfa grabbed the revolver from Bud Stiltz, and Alfalfa struggled over it. He said Pyatt broke a glass dome clock over Stiltz's head, causing Stiltz's eye to swell shut. And during the struggle, a shot was fired into the ceiling, and Corrigan was struck in the leg by a fragment.
Okay.
Now, during the struggle, the shot was fired into the ceiling, and Tom Corrigan was struck in the leg by a fragment. Corrigan said his two younger sisters ran to a neighbor's house to call for help.
Yeah, after this, Corrigan said his two younger sisters ran to the neighbors to call for help. And when this happened, Alfalfa was like, "Look, we already shot Tommy. There's enough of this." And he was trying to get himself and Pyatt out of the house. They were leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Corrigan said that he had just stepped out the front door when he heard the shot. It was the second shot because, the first one went into the ceiling.
Yeah.
That's when he turned around and saw Alfalfa sliding down the wall with a surprised look on his face, and Stiltz had shot him. Corrigan said he saw the closed penknife by Alfalfa's side, which he presumed had either fell out of his pocket or out of his hand. He said he then saw his stepfather shove Pyatt against the kitchen counter and threaten to kill him too. At this point, the emergency sirens were coming to where they could hear him, and Pyatt was begging for his life. And at this point, he said that is the only reason that Stiltz did not kill him too.
Man.
So the Corrigan said he and his stepfather actually lied the whole time, before the coroner's jury back in the, when it happened.
Yeah.
Now, why he waited 42 years later to tell this story, which to me sounds like what really happened.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
It would all make sense. That other stuff was a bunch of made up.
Yeah. He just said all that at the beginning, Bud Stiltz did, just to save his ass.
Right, which, Bud died in 83, so this is way past then, too, so I guess he finally said, hey, I'll just go ahead and tell what really happened now, but...
Yeah, because this Tom Corrigan, he didn't gain anything from it, so...
No.
I mean, I guess it made him feel better coming forward and telling the truth on it.
Right. So these two dudes busting in his house drunk, wanting their money, and this guy just said, hell with this, and he just blasted them.
Yeah.
Poor old Alfalfa.
Yeah.
Over $50.
$50. Now, Alfalfa was buried at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Hollywood, California. And because he died the same day as Cecil B. DeMille,
Right.
his death received only just a minor newspaper coverage. And
It's kind of like Michael Jackson Farrah Fawcett.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Same day, you didn't really hear much about her, and he got all the news.
Yeah.
So it's basically, that's like I said before, that name pops back up, because he got all the news media attention, and Alfalfa just kind of got shoved under the floor mat.
And like we said, too, coincidentally, Alfalfa appeared as a slave,
In that movie.
uncredited, in the last film for which DeMille was credited as director.
Right.
The Ten Commandments.
Yep.
So it's kind of coincidental there.
That Alfalfa's gravestone features the square and compass of Freemasonry and an image of a hunting dog, reflecting his dog training and guide interest at the time of his death. And a lot of people think that dog was supposed to be Petey, but it's not.
Yeah, from the Little Rascals,
from the
yeah.
show, yeah.
But it's just a hunting dog.
Yeah, one of his hunting dogs.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty sad ending to, he had it's like his flame was really bright when he's really young, and it just kind of was downhill from there.
And Alfalfa was 31 at the time.
31 years old.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yep. But a bunch of those kids died fairly early, some of them in their 40s. And I think Darla was in her 40s,
Mm-hmm.
and Buckwheat was in his 40s. I think she had hepatitis, and I'm not sure what happened to Buckwheat. Heart attack, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But several of them died pretty early, and even the original Petey the dog, somebody poisoned him,
Yeah.
which is pretty damn sad. Kind of pissed me off when I heard that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's pretty much the story of Alfalfa.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't know that Alfalfa was murdered, but yeah, it's over
Over $50.
$50 and a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, I loved Alfalfa. He was probably a little hellion.
He was. I'll bet he was. You can see it in his face.
Oh yeah.
Plus, back then he was big stuff when he was 10, 12 years old, and I'm sure he was like you said, he was just causing all kind of trouble.
Now, just to mention his brother Harold, he was played Deadpan on the Our Gang series.
Yep.
He died at the age of 42.
Mm-hmm.
I think he committed suicide.
He sure did.
Yep. He was married and had 3 kids.
Pretty sad there too.
But he didn't do any acting after Our Gang. He sort of stayed away from it.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. He is buried beside of his dad, who was also buried in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, and then Alfalfa's on the other side.
Yep. But that's it. That is the story of Carl Dean Alfalfa Switzer.
Carl Dean Alfalfa Switzer.
Alfalfa. All right, Dale. We are going to get out of here.
All right, brother. Let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe, be careful, and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.